Valley's leading news program with Rick Williams.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that.
She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well.
You're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me.
Wait a minute, I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
Kamala Harris.
It was a verbal slugfest in this first and perhaps only debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump tonight here in Philadelphia. The two candidates sparred over various topics, and as the political dust settles, there is various reaction as to who won this war of words, with Election Day fast approaching. It is Tuesday night, and the big story on Action News on this special hour-long edition for us is the presidential debate that took place right behind me here at the National Constitution Center. The stakes were high, and both candidates came out swinging for 90 minutes. Let's take a live look outside of the National Constitution Center, where the debate wrapped up less than half an hour ago. Our crews are standing by with more on this debate and its impact on the city. Caroline Goggin is live inside of the National Constitution Center where the debate played out. Reporter Andy McCormick is in the spin room at the Convention Center with reaction from both parties. And Chad Padelli has an update on the protests outside of the debate. But first, we welcome in Action News anchor Brian Taff for more on how the debate got off to such a quick start this evening. Brian, they came out, they shook hands, then they took the gloves off.
They came out swinging for sure, Rick. The expectations heading into this debate were sky high, through the roof. The first time Kamala Harris and Donald Trump would meet in any context, let alone one with the White House on the line. Take a look. Not a single moment was wasted. Living up to those very lofty expectations, both candidates coming out swinging right out of the gate after that very brief, somewhat awkward handshake, searing barbs that would define the duration of this debate. It was heavy on policy questions, as it should have been, but each exchange was laced with the evident distaste that Harris and Trump have for each other personally and, yes, politically. The first topic, arguably the biggest, the economy. Each candidate framing the other's record as one of utter failure.
We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess.
That there, the very first indication that this 90 minutes would be an intense effort by both sides to define the other, their values, their resume, and their personality as utterly unfit. Now, ultimately, it will be up to the voters to decide, but tonight's exchange, I think it's very fair to say, was extremely useful in helping voters, however many may remain undecided at this point, make up their minds. One final point, when it comes to which side thinks they won, I should note that just within the last few seconds, we received an email from the Harris campaign calling for another debate in October. That's a move you only make if you're very confident and pleased with how you did in debate number one.
Brian, thank you. And now for more on some of the other issues tackled in this debate, we go live inside of the National Constitution Center, where Action News reporter Caroline Goggin standing by just feet from where this showdown took place this evening. Caroline.
Yeah, Rick, the debate took place just behind me here inside the National Constitution Center. The second topic of tonight's debate was the issue of abortion. And we know just from polling that the topic of abortion is one that is weighing on the minds of voters as they head to the ballot box this November. And tonight, as he has done in the past, President Trump doubled down on the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade.
For 52 years, they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother.
Trump went on to say he has been a champion for IVF. When asked, he wouldn't commit to vetoing a national abortion ban if one were to be passed. Meantime, Vice President Kamala Harris said if Congress votes to reinstate Roe v. Wade, she would support it. She also said she believes the states deciding women's reproductive rights has led to extreme measures.
And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Now, there were a lot of topics discussed in this 90-minute debate tonight, and one issue in particular that came up over and over again was the issue of immigration and border control. We're going to have more on that coming up in our next half hour of Action News. That's the latest live inside the National Constitution Center. I'm Caroline Goggin, Channel 6 Action News. Rick?
Caroline, thank you. Well, the debate drew large crowds of people exercising their First Amendment rights just outside of the National Constitution Center. Protesters gathered to have their voices heard on a number of issues. Action News reporter Chad Pradelli live along Independence Mall with that story this evening. Chad.
Rick, you can see a heavy police presence behind me, but many officers heading home for the evening. It was largely an uneventful night of protests, besides a few hiccups. 4th and Market, police arrested roughly a half dozen protesters after they allegedly refused to leave the roadway during a sit-in. Police say some protesters also spray painted an ambulance and possibly other property in the area. The incidents leave a black mark on what's been mostly a peaceful night of protest. Earlier, protesters with the Philly-Palestine Coalition marched from City Hall down Market to Independence Mall, blasting both presidential candidates for their handling of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
This is one community. With our community, we have a voice. We want people in power to know what we have to say, how we feel.
Criminals lining up to support her.
Earlier this evening, members of the Party of Socialism and Liberation took to the bullhorn to criticize the debate, excluding third-party candidates.
Our plan is to protest the debate because it's a spectacle, it's a show, it's a performance that happens every 4 years without solving any of the issues of the people.
A heavy police presence allowed protesters to do their thing. By all accounts, it was peaceful. On the lawn at Independence Mall, there was an eclectic mix of protesters raising issues.
We all know how much
There were Trump impersonators, people with pets, music, and just a party for some, all under the watchful eye of the men and women in blue.
It's too much shouting, too much fighting. We should all find common ground.
Hopefully we can get the country back together and move ahead, because that's important.
And as one police captain put it to me, tonight went well, but we expected it to. Live in Center City, Chad Pradelli, Channel 6 Action News. Rick?
All right, Chad, thank you. Well, the debate is over, but the messaging is not. Pundits on both sides are reacting to what unfolded on the debate stage tonight. Action News reporter Annie McCormick live at the Spin Room inside of the Pennsylvania Convention Center with reaction. Annie.
Yeah, and Rick, this is the most excitement that we have seen inside the Pennsylvania Convention Center so far tonight. I want to give you an idea of what we're seeing. You're seeing groups of media, gaggles, following the different surrogates around as they come in here. It's happening quickly. U.S. Senator J.D. Vance, of course, Donald Trump's running mate, was on the stage with ABC Network News. He's one of the first ones in here. We're seeing Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, in here. We are waiting and standing by for Pennsylvania's governor, Governor Josh Shapiro, to come speak to us. We're seeing a number of different Republican surrogates, Democrat surrogates, all coming out here. And like we said, the Spin Room is not only a tradition that happens after the debate. The reason for it is to clarify, is to defend the messaging that came out from the debate. We're talking to them about the issues and how they think those candidates fared. I just interviewed Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, a Republican. I asked him what he thought about the Harris campaign asking for another debate in October. He thinks that that's a sign that she wants more time to answer questions, because possibly she thinks she didn't do well. That is what Republican Senator Marco Rubio is saying. So we're waiting to hear what Governor Josh Shapiro's take will be on that as well, and other Democrats here. I want to give you just a better visual in here. We were showing you this room earlier today. There's more than 1,000 journalists here from across the world. You can see all of those sets that are lined up around the convention center. This took 5 days to construct by ABC News. We are in the area that ABC News and their stations, our sister station WBC, is next to us, but all across this huge room that's thousands of square feet, you can see the presence of media from across the world. We talked to some of those journalists earlier today. We talked to a journalist from Poland who said that the answers that their viewers want there is about what is happening in Ukraine. We talked to a journalist from Spain who said that they also are bringing information to Latin American voters, and they want to know more about immigration. So a lot happening here. We're still spinning out here, Rick, so we still have a lot of people to talk to. We're going to bring you the very latest. For now, we're live at the Pennsylvania Convention Center. Annie McCormick, Channel 6, Action News.
All right, Eddie, keep spinning. Thank you for your report. Much more still ahead on Action News tonight. We take you to some of the debate watch parties around the area this evening. Also, results are coming in for Delaware's primary elections. We'll tell you about the candidate that is now on the verge of history. Cecily.
Well, Rick, after 9 days of temperatures below average today, seasonably warm 81 degrees, but we got mid to upper 80s on the way. I'll talk about that surge of summer warmth in the AccuWeather forecast when Action News returns.
Tonight, all eyes were on Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And first thing tomorrow on GMA, real-time reaction from across the country, inside the campaigns, and behind the scenes at the ABC debate. Was there a clear winner? Good Morning America tomorrow.
Pennsylvania has 2 choices for Attorney General. Dave Sunday, endorsed by our law enforcement. Eugene DePasquale, endorsed by Defund the Police Groups. Dave Sunday is an experienced district attorney who prosecuted criminals and gang members and reduced gun violence. DePasquale never prosecuted a case in his life and has sided with radical Philadelphia progressives. Sunday protected seniors from fraud. DePasquale ignored fraud by campaign donors. The choice is clear. Dave Sunday for Attorney General.
Hyundai Hope on Wheels is one of the largest nonprofit donors of pediatric cancer research in the United States. This is Hyundai's 26th year in the fight, making it one of the longest-running corporate social responsibility efforts in the automotive industry. Visit HyundaiHopeOnWheels.org to learn more.
Let's make this simple. Senate candidate Dave McCormick opposes abortion rights.
I'm someone who's pro-life, and I'll stand tall on pro-life policies.
McCormick said that he was fully against abortion, with no exceptions for rape or incest. And when the Supreme Court was overturning Roe v. Wade, he said it made him, quote, very, very happy. Dave McCormick. He's simply too extreme to be Pennsylvania's senator. Win Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
Get ready for a big deal with Astound's ultra-fast hypersonic internet for only $20 a month with a 2-year price lock. Plus, get a $100 Amazon gift card and add 5G unlimited mobile free for 12 months. Because reliable internet and better mobile is a big deal.
Building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
She'll do it with new ideas to make middle-class life more affordable. New caps on the price of medicine, new investments in clean energy to bring down costs for families. And while Trump will cut taxes for the super rich, she'll cut taxes for the rest of us. A stronger middle class, a future we can afford. LCB Victory Fund and FF PAC are responsible for the content of this ad.
If you get sick with COVID-19, someone will feel all alone. Get an updated vaccine this season, so you don't let down the ones who matter most. Last fall, more people were hospitalized from COVID than the flu. COVID is always changing. Protect yourself this season with an updated vaccine. Do it for you and them.
Okay.
And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter, He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom.
She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take...
That was one of the more contentious moments from the debate where Vice President Harris and former President Trump went back and forth about the size of the crowds at their campaign rallies. Well, of course, there was no live audience for that debate tonight inside of the National Constitution Center. Voters on both sides gathered to watch the political showdown together, though. The Philadelphia Young Republicans organized a watch party at the Kimpton Hotel Monaco in Old City. It was a packed house as they watched both candidates argue hot topics, including the economy, abortion, and the border. Democratic leaders in Philadelphia met tonight for a watch party hosted by Mayor Sherrell Parker. The event was held at the Dell Music Center in Strawberry Mansion. Special guests, including Pennsylvania Senator Sharif Street and radio host Patty Jackson, rallied the crowd ahead of the debate. They called on voters to head to the polls this November. Both candidates consider Pennsylvania key when it comes to winning the election. Well, along with debate night, it's also primary day in Delaware. And we're getting our first look at some of the results in the first state, including one that could potentially make history. Action News reporter Sharifa Jackson has that story from Newcastle tonight.
If you couldn't tell from the signs on nearly every Delaware street.
It's most I've ever seen.
And the various campaign workers.
And I was supposed to be done at 5 and I'm still here, putting in time. So I guess I'll be here to 8. And I'm still smiling.
It was primary day in the first state. Polls opened at 7 a.m. as voters cast their ballots. Change was top of mind.
I want to see things happen, new things happen.
There's a lot of different changes coming up. I'm a little nervous.
We met Alicia Mercer outside the Music School of Delaware, located on Washington Street in Wilmington.
Came straight from work, grabbed my son from medical daycare, and now I'm here voting. So I feel like if I can make it out, everyone should make it out.
She was one of the last to cast her vote in what turned out to be a monumental night for Delaware State Senator Sarah McBride. Now the Democratic nominee for the state's only U.S. House seat, recently vacated by Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester. McBride possibly on her way to become the first openly transgender person elected to Congress.
I am just filled with an immense amount of gratitude to the tens of thousands of Delawareans who have entrusted me with the honor and the responsibility of being the Democratic nominee.
She'll be facing the Republican candidate, former police officer John Whalen III, in November. Besides the presidential race, one of many races local voters say they will once again bring them to the polls.
It's exciting, though. It's an exciting time to be a voter. You know, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone planning to do this all over again in November. We spoke to an election official. He said things went smooth today. He also says there was a steady flow of people all day. In Wilmington, Sharifa Jackson, Channel 6 Action News.
All right, time now for a check of the AccuWeather forecast tonight. And it was a nice evening to be out here on Independence Mall. Thousands of people gathering, and Mother Nature certainly cooperated for us tonight, Cecily.
She certainly did, Rick. A lot of people also at Citizens Bank Park today. Philly's big win over Tampa Bay. We are live right now, and things are quiet, and it's pretty comfortable. And the next big thing is that temperatures will get increasingly warmer as we head into the weekend, just a little bit at a time. Even tonight, it's not quite as cool as last night or the night before that. 67 in Philadelphia, some areas dropping into the 50s. Tabernacle 57, Millville 56, Chalfont 55, and Allentown 59, already down into the 40s in Lake Harmony. Another very comfortable night, great night for sleeping. Tomorrow is the 23rd anniversary of 9/11, and if there are any remembrances in your neighborhood, weather will be cooperating. We're talking about wall-to-wall sunshine, 8 o'clock, 63 by 11, 74, and then temperatures rising up into the low 80s into the afternoon, likely making it up into the mid-80s. So above average tomorrow as this broad area of high pressure maintains control of our weather. Temperatures running a couple degrees higher than today, and then that high pressure starts to move a little bit farther to the east, and then we'll be tracking the remnants of Francine, which is now a hurricane. National Weather Service issued its alert at 11 o'clock. Maximum sustained wind 75 miles per hour, and you can see that eye is clearly defined. It likely will continue strengthening up to to 90-mile-an-hour winds making landfall in southern Louisiana tomorrow afternoon. And then as that low pressure moves up to the north, it gets deflected by the high pressure building over us. And that means we don't get the clouds, we don't get the rain. We basically do not get affected by that storm. We keep lots of sunshine right through the weekend. So the exclusive AccuWeather 7-day forecast. If you like today, you'll like tomorrow. Temperatures just a couple degrees warmer, 83 degrees. On Thursday, 84. Friday, bump it up a little bit more, 85 degrees. We bring in a few high, thin clouds, and the warmest day of the 7-day will be Saturday, all the way up to 87 degrees. That's 7 degrees above average. Mostly sunny skies, so definitely a summer weekend. And we hold on to that warmth on Sunday with a high of 85 degrees. Monday, partly sunny. 84 for the high. Monday Night Football with the Eagles should be fine, very comfortable. And then Tuesday, finally, we start to see more clouds starting to stream in. 83 degrees on the warm side, and that's ahead of a system that could finally bring us some rain by the middle of next week. Until then, put away the umbrellas, grab the sunglasses, and keep watering your lawns because it's dry, it's sunny, and warm for the next 7 days. Rick?
All right, Cecily, thank you. Before we go to break, we want to take you live to the Cherry Street Pier on Penn's Landing, where Vice President Kamala Harris just took the stage at a watch party right here. Again, this is Penn's Landing. The Vice President certainly feeling jubilant after 90 minutes of this presidential debate against Donald Trump, speaking to thousands of people who gathered to watch tonight's debate here live on the action cam from Penn's Landing. We'll take a quick break, be right back with more of our coverage from the National Constitution Center. Stay with us.
We have brought 4,500 new modern manufacturing jobs to this area just in the last few years. I worked with Republicans and Democrats to pass the CHIPS Act. It provides jobs at all different levels. I've just been laser focused on continuing to create high-tech career-type jobs, and I think our community can be a hub for a Made in America economy. Our economic future starts now. I'm Susan Wild. I approve this message.
As DA, Kamala Harris shielded illegal immigrant criminals from deportation. Instead of deporting one drug-dealing illegal, Kamala picked him for a jobs program, a job he couldn't legally hold, helping clear his criminal record. Kamala's hand-picked illegal then nearly killed a woman. It could have been prevented, but Kamala put her liberal values ahead of our safety.
My values have not changed.
That's what scares us. Kamala is dangerously liberal. Make America Great Again, Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Every day we are on a mission to be better, to innovate, to push boundaries, and overcome any obstacle that stands in our way. You can only do this when you have a team of thousands standing in your corner. And you have spent the past 125 years rising to meet the challenge. It's a new day at AtlantiCare. Rise with us.
2018, an American journalist murdered by the Saudis, body sawed into pieces. But Dave McCormick demanded his hedge fund stay loyal to the murderers to protect their investments. The same McCormick who had ties to Vladimir Putin's personal slush fund, investing nearly $500 million into Russian sovereign bonds, and made a fortune investing in China's military. Dave McCormick. Can't trust him to be for us.
I'm Bob Casey, and I approve this message.
They say post it or it didn't happen. But out here, in the places we were made for, you'll have to take our word for it. Find somewhere the internet's never been. With a family of Broncos designed to get you there.
Lease a Bronco Sport for $259 a month or get 2.9 financing for 36 months plus up to $3,500 cash on Bronco Badlands.
What's Bob Casey really gotten done in Washington? He made sure COVID relief checks could go to convicted felons. When reasonable people tried to stop murderers and rapists from getting checks, Casey voted to send them checks anyway. Even the Boston Marathon bomber ended up with a big, fat check.
Go big or go home.
Bob Casey went big. He botched it. And it's time for Bob Casey to finally go home. Senate Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Live on the action cam in Center City, where Donald Trump just entered the spin room at the Pennsylvania Convention Center. You see him there right now being questioned by scores of reporters here. Certainly Trump feeling confident after tonight's showdown. Both candidates certainly not resting on their laurels following tonight's debate. Donald Trump at the spin room at the Pennsylvania Convention Center. If he says something substantial, we certainly will turn it around and bring that to you tonight. We do have some other headlines to get to this evening as well. A Philadelphia police officer who has been hospitalized since June 22nd after a shooting at a traffic stop has died. Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel announced the death of Officer Jamie Roman just about an hour ago. On Saturday, June 22nd, just before 8 p.m., Roman and his partner conducted a traffic stop on a vehicle along the 3600 block of F Street. During the stop, the suspect, 36-year-old Ramon Rodriguez Vasquez, fired on the officers. Roman was hit. His partner returned fire but did not strike the offender. Vasquez is currently in custody. There is no word yet on whether he will face additional charges. Bethel says Roman was surrounded by family and had bravely fought since the shooting. More action news. We are live from the site of tonight's historic presidential debate. Our coverage continues when we come right back. Stay with us.
The excellence of driving a Buick is matched by the excellence of the dealership experience when you own a Buick. Buick, exceptional by design.
Sign and Drive is here. Current eligible Buick and GMC lessees get this ultra-low mileage lease on this 2024 Encore GX Preferred for around $283 per month with zero due at signing.
Are you ready to rock? Does God ever call you and ask you for stuff?
I heart you. Can we get rid of that?
Jimmy Kimmel Live, new weeknights on ABC.
Why does Pennsylvania need the U.S. Steel Nippon merger? It protects thousands of union jobs. It saves 1,000 headquarters jobs and keeps U.S. Steel in Pittsburgh. It helps decarbonize steel production, and Nippon's billion-dollar commitment to upgrade U.S. Steel's aging equipment will secure union jobs for generations and create thousands of construction jobs. The U.S. Steel-Nippon merger keeps steel in the Steel City.
Meet Walt. Walt likes to know how things work. So, with his new smart meter from Atlantic City Electric, he went to work unlocking all its cool energy and money-saving tools, like weekly and monthly energy use reports and high usage alerts. And it was easy to turn them on, right? Smart move, Walt. Smart move indeed. Turn on the power of your new smart meter today.
Kamala Harris cast the tie-breaking vote that created America's inflation.
The vice president votes in the affirmative, and the bill is passed.
Economists said Harris's vote led directly to the higher prices we pay. 22% more for groceries, 50% more for gas. Mortgage costs nearly double. Thanks a lot, Kamala. Trump had our economy humming. He'll do it again.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
One law firm, Klein & Spector, has obtained the most big verdicts of any Pennsylvania firm. So if a defective product, motor vehicle accident, or medical malpractice caused a catastrophic injury, call Klein & Spector.
Another con job from Bob Casey.
I've been fighting to ban price gouging on food.
Casey blames grocery stores for the raging inflation he caused with his reckless spending. Casey's solution? Government price controls. An idea so radical that Barack Obama's economic advisor slammed it. The Washington Post said it will cause food shortages, hoarding, and even higher prices. Stop the Casey con job. Fire Bob Casey. Keystone Renew PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Welcome back. Tuesday night, and our special coverage continues from the National Constitution Center, where Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump squared off in a sometimes contentious presidential debate. It comes with just 56 days left before the election. Philadelphia was in the national spotlight as the two candidates for president faced off one another for the very first time. It's now quiet outside of the NCC where the debate was held, but the gloves did come off during the impassioned debate where Harris and Trump argued over tax cuts, abortion rights, fracking, the January 6th insurrection, race, and much more.
I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of
that exchange came after David Muir asked former President Donald Trump why he felt it was appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of his opponent. Well, we want to bring back Action News anchor Brian Taft with more on tonight's often contentious debate, as we mentioned. Brian, we sat next to each other watching the debate, but we didn't say a word to each other. We were just transfixed as this debate continued to unfold this evening.
You could really hear a pin drop in the entirety of the National Constitution Center tonight. The whole country hanging on every word. You know, Rick, there are a few moments in American history as inflammatory as what happened on January 6th, 2021. We all watched it play out on live television. So did Donald Trump as president from the Oval Office. His role in that day, his reaction to the events that played out in front of all of our eyes have been defining aspects of his legacy. Tonight he was pointedly asked this about that day.
Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes or no?
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an
Now, notably, the former president was also asked tonight about recent public comments in which he seemed to acknowledge for the first time that he lost the 2020 election. He called those comments sarcasm and, again, falsely claimed to have won. So, Rick, to be sure, 2024 is, again, in part, also about 2020. We can expect to hear much more about those comments in the 56 days that remain.
All right, Brian, thank you again. Immigration, also one of the big topics at the debate tonight. Action News reporter Caroline Goggin is live inside of the Constitution Center with that. Caroline.
Yeah, Rick, immigration was a topic that continued to resurface throughout the 90-minute debate tonight. At one point, Vice President Kamala Harris was asked about the fact that illegal border crossings reached record highs during the Biden administration. She claimed tonight that she tried taking action.
Let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported.
But Harris claimed former President Trump spoke to members of Congress to kill the bill. Tonight, Trump continuously brought up the situation at the border.
What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States.
Another topic discussed was fracking. During her short-lived 2020 presidential campaign, Vice President Kamala Harris said she opposed it. Tonight, she said otherwise.
I will not ban fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil.
Fracking? She's been against it for 12 years, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one.
The conversation eventually shifted to the topic of war and how both candidates would handle the situation in the Middle East.
We need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that.
This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended if I'm president-elect.
And former President Donald Trump also said tonight that if he had been president, that the war between Ukraine and Russia never would have happened. Meantime, Vice President Kamala Harris, she defended the Biden administration, saying the administration was worried about supporting Ukraine's independence. So, Rick, really a lot of ground covered tonight, from immigration, both wars, the economy, abortion, a ton covered tonight during this 90-minute debate inside the National Constitution Center. We are live inside the National Constitution Center. I'm Caroline Goggin, Channel 6 Action News. Rick.
All right, Caroline, thank you again. Well, a number of high-profile politicians watched tonight's debate very closely. Action News reporter Annie McCormick is live once again at the Pennsylvania Convention Center in the Spin Room with more. Annie.
Yeah, we're in the height of spinning as far as the entire day has been going. I want to give you an idea of what it looks like in here right now. You're seeing a gaggle right there. You're seeing a lot of gaggles around the different surrogates that are out there. That's actually Governor Josh Shapiro talking to the media. And you're seeing it across this room. We've been showing you this room. It took about 5 days to construct this. More than 1,000 journalists from across the world are in here. Now, there was a little bit of a surprise earlier, and that's when former President Donald Trump actually entered this spin room. We saw a flurry of Secret Service agents running over, and the gaggle grew. It was huge as he answered some questions to the media that was able to get around him, of course, after he left the Constitution Center following the debate. Now, in regards to surrogates, there are so many from each side, Republicans and Democrats. We did catch up with Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, a Republican, of course, and also Governor Josh Shapiro, the governor, a Democrat of Pennsylvania.
I thought he had an awful night. I thought Kamala Harris did an excellent job of prosecuting the case against Donald Trump. I thought what you heard from him were more lies and conspiracy theories and actually just a lot of nonsense from him. And that's what we've come to expect from the former president. I think we've got to turn the page on that, and we got to look forward.
On issue after issue, the dangerous far-left agenda that she has. Tonight, she either said, I'm what Joe Biden was, or they learned about the positions she had were even more radical than Joe Biden. A lot of people didn't know that until tonight. I think that's going to prove to be quite decisive in the days to come.
Again, one of the things we're hearing now is that the Harris campaign potentially is asking for another debate in October. We also got reaction to that as well. And Rick, like we said, the spin room is at the height of spinning right now, so we're hoping to get some more interviews to bring to you. For now, we're live inside the Pennsylvania Convention Center. Annie McCormick, Channel 6 Action News. Rick.
All right, Annie, thank you again. Well, about a half a dozen protesters were arrested tonight for staging a sit-in here at 4th and Market Streets. Earlier, a number of them marched from Philadelphia City Hall down Market Street to Independence Mall. Among their concerns was the handling of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict by both candidates. All right, we'll take a quick break. Much more when Action News continues tonight. Stay with us.
Hello. Hey. I would like to introduce you to... there he is. My guy. Hey. Hey. Man, this guy is my tall king. Buddy boy. My bro nail polish. This guy.
Remembering that one guy's name is hard. Hiring Morgan & Morgan for your injury is easy.
My man. My man.
Morgan & Morgan. The choice is easy.
Let's make this simple. Senate candidate Dave McCormick opposes abortion rights.
I'm someone who's pro-life, and I'll stand tall on pro-life policies.
McCormick said that he was fully against abortion, with no exceptions for rape or incest. And when the Supreme Court was overturning Roe v. Wade, he said it made him, quote, very, very happy. Dave McCormick. He's simply too extreme to be Pennsylvania's senator. Win Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
Allie S. asks,
asks, how many devices can my Wi-Fi handle?
That's an easy one, Allie. The average home has more devices than ever.
But our gateways are engineered to handle hundreds.
So not only will they work today,
they'll also work tomorrow.
That's our new intern.
Thanks, buddy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Power all your devices with fast, reliable Xfinity Internet for $30 a month for 12 months with no annual contract. Xfinity, bring on the good stuff. Pennsylvania has two choices for Attorney General. Dave Sunday, endorsed by our law enforcement. Eugene DePasquale, endorsed by Defund the Police Groups. Dave Sunday is an experienced district attorney who prosecuted criminals and gang members and reduced gun violence. DePasquale never prosecuted a case in his life and has sided with radical Philadelphia progressives. Sunday protected seniors from fraud. DePasquale ignored fraud by campaign donors. The choice is clear. Dave Sunday for
Building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
She'll do it with new ideas to make middle-class life more affordable. New caps on the price of medicine, new investments in clean energy to bring down costs for families. And while Trump will cut taxes for the super rich, she'll cut taxes for the rest of us. A stronger middle class, a future we can afford. Climate Power Action and FFPAC are responsible for the content of this ad.
And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it?
That was how Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump closed out tonight's crucial presidential debate. Well, a number of watch parties were held across the region this evening as the candidates were squaring off. Action News reporter Walter Perez is live in Center City with more on that tonight. Walter.
Well, Rick, the line to get into this restaurant here behind me for a debate watch party stretched all the way down North 18th Street earlier tonight, a real example of the interest people have in what these candidates had to say. This watch party at the City Tap House on North 18th Street was organized by the Committee of 70.
We all recognize how important Philadelphia and Pennsylvania are going to be in the fall, and we wanted to give people a place to come in a nonpartisan environment to talk across their differences.
And the response, as you can see, was very positive. The place was packed with people listening to the first and what might be the only debate between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. The topics range from the economy to abortion to the southern border, and people we spoke with here to watch the debate told us what they were hoping to hear.
I think it's really important. I think every election is important. But there are a lot of issues that have come up over the past few years that I think have gone largely unaddressed.
Worried about our country, worried about humanity.
So the question now is, how much will this debate have an effect on voter opinion, if at all, with 56 days to go before Election Day? Reporting live from Center City, Walter Perez, Channel 6, Action News. Rick?
All right, Walter, thank you. Back live now from outside of the National Constitution Center. And we wanted to get some independent insight from a local political expert. Dr. John Kennedy is a professor of political science at Westchester University. Dr. Kennedy, thank you for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
Two quick questions.
Sure.
What do you think was the biggest or one of the biggest moments of tonight's debate?
Thanks. I'm glad to be here. I think right in the very beginning, when the vice president, I think threw the former President Donald Trump off balance with the comment as far as the size of his rallies. I think right from that point on, Donald Trump was a little bit off balance. If you noticed, he really didn't look at her throughout the entire debate. He just stared into the camera. And I think, again, that set the tone. That was the theme for the entire debate going forward. I do think, you know, years from now, this debate will probably be, unfortunately, remembered as the debate in which one of the candidates discussed people actually eating cats and dogs, though, however.
Well, certainly each candidate's mission was to prove that their opponent was unfit to be president. Which candidate do you think fulfilled that mission most, and will it sway voters who are still undecided?
Well, we're in a very polarized environment right now, so I don't suspect that it's going to move a lot of votes. But again, you might have soft voters on each side who are movable. I also think there are some swing voters, as much as maybe 15% in a state such as Pennsylvania. I mean, this debate really was always going to be about the vice president. She's not as well known as as former President Trump, who again has been a dominant force in American life for the last decade. So this was an opportunity for her to introduce herself to the American people, and again, the largest audience she's ever going to have, really until Election Day, and I think any neutral observer, even the strongest Trump supporters and partisans, would have to agree that she met that bar. That is, when you're looking at these debates, do these candidates, do they rise to the level of being commander-in-chief? And I think in that respect, I think she certainly accomplished what her mission was.
Well, apparently she has already asked for a second debate. So what does that tell you, A, about how she feels about her performance tonight, and whether or not you think there will be a second debate between these candidates?
Well, I don't know whether there'll be another one. Of course, that's between the two candidates. But I think that's indicative of how she feels after this debate. That she's confident. That she met that bar that was out there. And again, I suspect that she'll gain some momentum going forward, at least in the near future. And again, the near future is the election. We're less than 60 days away.
All right. Professor Kennedy from Westchester University, thank you for joining us with some insight tonight. We appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Take another quick break. Our coverage continues here from outside of the National Constitution Center. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Friday, September 13th, Dark Nights at Hershey Park Halloween returns. Join us for 5 haunted houses and 3 scare zones, including the all-new Estate of Evil. Plus, ride-hour coasters all day and all night. Dark Nights returns Friday the 13th.
I'm a 2-time Trump voter.
In 2024, I cannot support Donald Trump.
Trump is 100%
responsible for January 6th.
His treatment of women is just disgusting.
Trump called servicemen suckers and losers.
If Trump has a second term,
it will be much worse than the first.
Kamala Harris is a prosecutor.
He's a convicted felon.
In 2024,
I will be
proudly voting for Kamala Harris.
Republican Accountability PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Hi, Eric.
Hi, Mel. Is now good for a quick catch-up on your plan?
Yes, now's great.
Has anything changed since we last spoke?
You know what? Yes, I'm thinking more long-term.
Great. We'll make that change to your plan and adjust as needed.
This helps a lot.
Bye, Mel.
Bye. Make sense of your money with Citizens.
We all know costs are too high. But while corporations are gouging families, Trump is focused on giving them tax cuts. But Kamala Harris is focused on you.
Building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
She'll make groceries more affordable by cracking down on price gouging. And she'll cut housing costs by taking on corporate speculators. Middle-class families build America. We need a leader who has their back.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Dear Freedom, what forms do you take? More miles driven? More dollars saved? More life embraced? And more electrified vehicles than any other brand? Yours, Toyota Hybrids.
Right now, get great offers on many new Toyota hybrids, including Corolla, Corolla Cross, and the all-new all-hybrid Camry. Shop online and get your new Toyota from your nearest Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places.
What's Bob Casey really gotten done in Washington? He made sure COVID relief checks could go to convicted felons. When reasonable people tried to stop murderers and rapists from getting checks, Casey voted to send them checks anyway. Even the Boston Marathon bomber ended up with a big, fat check.
Go big or go home.
Bob Casey went big. He botched it. And it's time for Bob Casey to finally go home. Senate Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Let's name all our favorite things about Hershey Park Halloween as fast as we can.
Okay, 1, trick-or-treating with my brother. 2, riding all my favorite rides. 3, dancing with the Hershey characters. 4, I can keep going.
Hershey Park Halloween opens for more dates than ever, starting Friday, September 13th.
All right, sports tonight. Deuces Rogers standing by with the Phillies in Tampa Bay. And quite a bit more excitement than usual at tonight's game, Deuces, huh?
Yeah, this was a good one to watch. Call the Phils the Cardiac Kids for the second night in a row. They need a late rally to top the Rays. This game also has some fireworks. Kyle Schwarber leads off with a home run, his 14th leadoff homer. That sets an MLB single-season record, Schwarber's 35th of the year. But Kyle would later leave the game with a bruised elbow. Topper says he could be back tomorrow. A tie game in the third inning. Trey Turner launches one to left field. Number 17. It's a 2-run blast. The Phillies take a 4-2 lead. Now tied at 4 in the 8th inning. Cal Stevenson comes in as a pinch hitter, and he comes through. A double to the corner off Edwin Uceta. Brandon Marsh and Cody Clemens score. Phil's up 6-4. The Phils bang out 13 hits. Later in the frame, Turner again, another 2-run dinger, number 18. The Phillies played 5 runs in the frame to take a 9-4 lead. Still in the 8th inning, Uceta plunks Nick Castellanos. Casty takes exception with it. Bryce Harper, who was on second base, comes in to say some choice words. Here we go. Everybody find a dance partner. Both benches clear, both bullpens empty. Uceta, the pitcher, he's eventually ejected. Meanwhile, Harper foaming at the mouth. The Phillies win a wild one, 9-4, the final. The Eagles are gearing up for Monday's home game against the Falcons. They will return to practice on Thursday. I recently caught up with defensive end Brandon Graham. He sees big things for the Birds.
I know it's early, but does it feel special?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it feels special. It already felt like that in the beginning of the offseason. Now, us winning that for one game and, building that confidence and then knowing what we need to work on. I mean, because as a team, that was our first time in full go. Yeah. And now we kind of know what we need to work on, some stuff, making sure we stand on the same page, communicating. And, yeah, man, you just got to make sure that you are bought in and willing to know that, hey, it's going to take work every day.
The Birds are 1-0, and in some respects, they should feel fortunate about it. Of the 6 teams that had 3 turnovers in Week 1, the Eagles were the only ones to come out victorious. You can blame some of that on some Week 1 rust.
There was a lot of sloppy football, just like, we had sloppy football, right? But that's something that you're constantly trying to get better at through the season, as you go. And so I'm pleased with how we've started, obviously, here. I'm pleased with how we've went about our process. We've started fast. Now, the only way to go 2-0 is if you go 1-0, and so that's our next focus.
Clear the schedule Monday night and settle in with us here on 6 ABC. We will broadcast the Eagles-Falcons game. Coverage of Monday Night Football will begin at 8 o'clock. The link, again, will be a rockin' come Monday. Rick?
I think I'm going to need tickets, Deuces. Maybe you can help me out.
You know anybody?
I guess not. All right, thanks, Deuces. Another quick break. We'll check with Cecily at that AccuWeather forecast when Action News comes right back. Stay with us.
Action News Sports is sponsored by your local tri-state Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places.
Dear Freedom, what forms do you take? More miles driven? More dollars saved? More life embraced? And more electrified vehicles than any other brand? Yours, Toyota Hybrids.
Right now, get great offers on many new Toyota hybrids, including Corolla, Corolla Cross, and the all-new all-hybrid Camry. Shop online and get your new Toyota from your nearest Toyota dealer. Toyota, let's go places.
Whoa, where'd you get that?
From Wawa. It's the roasted chicken fajita veggie quesadilla.
Wawa's new Southwest flavors are here with ingredients like fajita veggies, fire-roasted corn, and salsa roja to customize any quesadilla, burrito, or bowl. Gotta have a Wawa.
Building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
She'll do it with new ideas to make middle-class life more affordable. New caps on the price of medicine. New investments in clean energy to bring down costs for families. And while Trump will cut taxes for the super rich, she'll cut taxes for the rest of us. A stronger middle class. A future we can afford. LCB Victory Fund and FFPAC are responsible for the content of this ad.
Let's make this simple. Senate candidate Dave McCormick opposes abortion rights.
I'm someone who's pro-life, and I'll stand tall on pro-life policies.
McCormick said that he was fully against abortion, with no exceptions for rape or incest. And when the Supreme Court was overturning Roe v. Wade, he said it made him, quote, very, very happy. Dave McCormick. He's simply too extreme to be Pennsylvania's senator. Win Senate is responsible for the content of this ad.
When we call a family meeting, the first vote's always the same, 6-1.
7-1.
I want one thing and our 6 daughters want something else, 6-1.
And me, 7-1.
True. So I've learned to come prepared, to make a really detailed case, and then when necessary, to listen. To listen. In Washington, we need more people who know how to listen, not just argue. That's how we shake things up. I'm Dave McCormick, and I approve this message.
I do too.
Why does Pennsylvania need the U.S. Steel-Nippon merger? It protects thousands of union jobs. It saves 1,000 headquarters jobs and keeps U.S. Steel in Pittsburgh. It helps decarbonize steel production, and Nippon's billion-dollar commitment to upgrade U.S. Steel's aging equipment will secure union jobs for generations and create thousands of construction jobs. The U.S. Steel-Nippon merger keeps steel in the Steel City.
Wawa has the right drinks for the right time. And now that pumpkin drinks are back, anytime can feel a little more like fall. Like a pumpkin brulee milkshake to chill out by the pool. Or a pumpkin cheesecake cream smoothie for taking in the night. Feel cool and cozy with Wawa's pumpkin drinks.
All right, meteorologist Cecily Tyner joining us now with a look at the AccuWeather forecast. Another nice fall day, Cecily, but apparently we're not done with summer yet, huh?
Yeah, not quite yet, and it will be feeling like summer as we head towards the weekend. Technically, we're still in summer. Satellite and radar showing high pressure in this maintaining control of our weather, and that's what brought us all the sunshine. But it's going to do something else. It's going to deflect Francine away from us. You can see some of the high, thin clouds beginning to stream into the Tennessee Valley from Francine, which is now officially a hurricane. Maximum sustained winds 75 miles per hour. It's a Category 1 hurricane. You can see the eye is clearly defined, and it does look like it's going to be making landfall over southern Louisiana tomorrow as a Category 1 hurricane, then moving inland with some flooding rains. And then as it continues to push up to the north, it kind of starts to fall apart, all thanks to that high pressure that's providing that ridge, protecting us and bringing more days, more mornings like this. Bus stop pickup, 62 degrees, going to be comfortably cool with wall-to-wall sunshine, and the drop-off, we have a nice afternoon, a little bit warmer than average, 82 degrees with sunshine and low humidity. So the nice thing about this forecast, even though temperatures are going to be warming through the week, we keep the low humidity. So the forecast for tomorrow, 83 Philadelphia, 2 degrees warmer than today, Allentown 80, Seattle City 74, and Wilmington 83. The exclusive AccuWeather 7-day forecast shows lots of sunshine, temperatures warming up into the mid-80s right through the weekend. Early next week, we stay in the 80s, increasing clouds. Looks like our next chance of rain doesn't come until next Wednesday. So you like it sunny and warm. I think you'll like the next 7 days. Rick?
All right, Seth, thank you. Jimmy Kimmel Live is next on Channel 6, followed by Nightline. Action News continues tomorrow morning with Tamala Edwards, Matt O'Donnell, Aliana Gomez, meteorologist Karen Rogers, Matt Pellman with traffic. Now for Brian Taff, Cecily Tyner, Deuces Rogers, the entire Action News team, I'm Rick Williams. Thank you for joining us for our special coverage tonight. Have a nice evening, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night.